So I recently made a video called World of Warcraft Warlords of Draenor Reforged, where I talk about what it could be like to have a remade Warlords of Draenor expansion with additional content, including content that was promised to us by Blizzard but was scrapped during development. This is going to be a video on Wrath of the Lich King, since it'll be coming out fairly soon. Now, unlike Warlords of Draenor, obviously there's not as much stuff cut from the expansion, at least that we know about, since Warlords of Draenor was full of empty promises that was told to us from Blizzard, while in Wrath of the Lich King, if there was anything cut other than what I will say in this video, it was before it was announced to the public. However, what little we do know was either on the box art that never made it in, or was told to us years later by either Blizzard or speculation from fans. First, just like in my previous video, I would like to talk about my likes and dislikes of the expansion, followed by what was cut that was confirmed, and then what I would like to see if we ever got a remade Wrath of the Lich King expansion. First of all, I think these first few ones everybody can agree upon, but of course, I really love the locale. Northrend with the Nordic theme, and also some other themes as well, is just right up my alley. The areas are beautiful even for an over 10-year-old expansion, and everybody loves Grizzly Hills. Speaking of Grizzly Hills, the next thing I really like is the music. Everybody loves the music of Wrath of the Lich King. It has some classics in there too, like the Invincible theme, which is really Arthas' theme. Then of course, Grizzly Hills. A lot of people like the Dragonblight song, but I don't really like the Dragonblight song as much as other people, but hey, whatever. I really like the Howling Fjord music as well. After that, some other things that I like about Wrath of the Lich King is the questing. I feel the questing is some of the best in all of World of Warcraft. And what I mean by that is, when you're questing in Wrath of the Lich King, every single hub in the zone you can go to at any time and do it in any order, with each questing hub having its own unique mini story, or at least something to feed into the overall larger story. And on top of that, it doesn't force feed any of the main narrative down your throat. You're not constantly in the front lines, fighting the main villain all the time, but you are helping from the sidelines by doing smaller things. Those smaller things that lead into the overall story can't actually have major plot points in there, but they're usually as rewards, not the entire quest. For an example, if you go to the Tonka area in the Howling Fjord, at first you're just like, oh, well, we need to help the Tonka. We need to help defeat their enemies, the Vrykul, who are nearby. You help them defeat one of their towns. Then afterward, they say, hey, they're doing some crazy necromancy stuff in this other town just further out. We need to go and stop them. So you have to do this whole quest line trying to help them out. But at the very end, it leads to the final quest where you are greeted by none other than Arthas himself, who awakens the king of the Vrykul, who you later fight in Utgard Pinnacle. And that kind of questing, in my opinion, is some of the best. Again, major plot points are quest rewards for doing the quests, and you're not even forced to do them. It's all optional, and you can do them in any order you wish. And even then, you have like the Drakuru questline where it starts in Grizzly Hills, and you're like, oh, okay, I'm helping out this troll, yada yada yada. Oh, he's telling me he wants to help cleanse Zuldrak. And it's like, oh, well, it's zombie infested. Maybe he's trying to help cleanse the Scourge. Let's help him. Turns out, when you get to the end of the first part of that quest line, you were tricked, and he was actually helping Arthas, who then shows up. Again, major plot point as a reward for doing that quest chain and that dungeon. Then when you go to Zuldrak, then you actually defeat him and get another rewarded ending of the quest line from Arthas, where he's like, ah, you got rid of him. He was really nothing to me. He couldn't do anything right. But you, I think there's promise in you. You will be my greatest champion. Something like that, right? I don't quite remember exactly what he says. But that's the kind of questing I like. It's got the story in it, unlike TBC, where you don't see Illidan anywhere. You just get tidbits of, okay, well, there's a little bit here and there, but you don't really know what the hell's going on, because nothing really made sense in the story of TBC. It was all retroactively added in with the Illidan book and Legion and stuff like that. But Wrath of the Lich King, again, you have the mini-stories, which are from vanilla, and then you have major plot points to help lead into the final boss, which is Arthas. Perfect questing. Anyway, I ranted on questing, so let's continue on. Another thing I like about Wrath of the Lich King are the rares. Unlike current expansions, rares are actually rare. And on top of that, they gave actually pretty good rewards. You get like a stack of cloth, some blue BOE, sometimes purple BOEs. I've even gotten purple BOEs from them. And you just get plenty of good rewards for finding and killing rares, who are actually rare. The treasure system is still intact from vanilla. However, again, they are more rare. You're not going to find a chest as common as you will in vanilla World of Warcraft, for example. They do exist, but when you find them, again, just like the rares, they are way more rewarding. And I love the treasure system in the older expansions, such as Wrath of the Lich King and vanilla and so on. The PvP was fairly good, and you also had Winter Grasp. On top of that, you also had a couple of battlegrounds, which several battlegrounds, I mean, hell, that's a lot more than we get now. There's some expansions that go the entirety without even adding a battleground. And also, there's not really a lot of complaints on the PvP, so PvP is good. We're going to just say that. The next thing, everybody can agree, Ulduar. Now, I'm going to talk more about Ulduar when I get to the dislikes, but it's like one of the best raids. Everybody has said it's their favorite or the best raid ever made. The next thing I like about Wrath of the Lich King is Arthas is more involved. Now, I already talked about this in the questing segment just now, so I'm going to continue on. To some degree, I really like the Argent Tournament. I mean, there is a lot of stuff that needs to be fixed about the Argent Tournament, and I will get to that later on, but for what it is, it's not that bad, and I do like it, especially the music, but we already talked about music. Now, one thing a lot of people have a lot of complaints about in current expansions is the Pathfinder Achievement, where you have to earn flying, but it takes the entire expansion in order to get it. With Wrath of the Lich King, now this is a pro and a con, but I'm just gonna put it as a good thing for now. You can buy flying once you get the appropriate level to buy flying. Once you buy flying, you can actually buy an heirloom type of flying that you could mail to your alts and have them learn it at level 68. So basically, once you already have it, you could just give it to your alts, though it still costs money and you need to have somebody at max level in order to buy it. Overall, it's better than what it is today. Now to the dislikes. So this is just a personal thing, but I do not like the zombie theme at all. Anyone who's watched my streams, I've said this 1,000 times, but zombies are boring and overused. I hate zombies. They're stupid. I'm done with them. I know it's the Scourge expansion and Arthas is the Lich King and yada yada yada. I could still like the Lich King, but I just don't like the zombie theme. It's kind of confusing, but it's my own personal opinion, so whatever. Another dislike, so this is something that a lot of people do criticize Wrath of the Lich King for, is the lack of raids that are unique. I mean, you do have Ulduar, and ICC was okay to an extent. Star 3D and Malagos were really the only new raids at the start of the expansion, and they were one boss raids. Other than that, you got a reskinned Onyxia raid and a reskinned Naxxramas raid. So I think that could be something that is, it could be fixed in an improved Wrath of the Lich King. Heroic mode dungeons rather, they were nerfed from TBC. TBC heroics were, now in today's day and age, they're not hard. But for the time, they were very hard. And then comparing that to Wrath of the Lich King, they were severely nerfed. So I think harder heroics are in order. The introduction of multiple raid difficulties. So as of the Trial of the Champion, or Trial of the Crusader, or whatever the hell it's called, that is when they introduced heroic mode raiding and normal mode raiding. For the time, I don't think it was that bad. However, it did lead into a downward spiral, so that now we have like 4 difficulties of raid, and I think that's way too much. This is basically what started that trend. They made it like that because people liked the harder difficulty of Ulduar, where it was an optional mode within the raid itself, but instead of improving upon that system, they just made it a completely new mode. And again, that leads to the downfall of raiding with multiple modes, and it's just an overall terrible system. Another thing that I don't like about Wrath of the Lich King is that there's not really a lot to do at endgame besides PvE and PvE. I mean, there are some dailies here and there, like in the Shalazar, you could do it for the little Gorlocks or the Wolvar and stuff like that. But, I mean, Argent Tournament maybe, but other than that, again, there's not really a lot to do outside in endgame. Winter Grasp is probably the only real endgame content, and if you're not a PvPer, then it's not really going to be fun for you. With Wrath of the Lich King, now this is this one can't really be stopped. Again, I don't like it, but there's nothing you can really do about it. Wrath of the Lich King, in my opinion, is where mounts really started to be not as special. And you could be asking me, like, well, why not TBC? Well, with TBC, the few mounts that you get, they're very special. Like, there were very few mounts, like Ravenlord and so on. Really, the only special ones you would get are from the higher tiered reputations, such as Netherwing, which you would have to buy flying in order to get to. And same thing with the Skyguard, you have to buy flying in order to even start making your way to get to it. So, there was some specialty to those. And even then, when you buy flying, you just got generic, Wyvern or Griffin mounts. You didn't really get special ones. With Wrath of the Lich King, they, every single one looks unique, right? The only one that's not really that special is the Bronze Drake. That's what everyone called the welfare mount back in the day. I remember that because it was the easiest one to get. It was your very first epic flying mount if you were just getting epic flying in Wrath of the Lich King. So, yeah, like, everybody had a proto Drake, at least one proto Drake, right? Everybody had a normal Drake, at least the bronze Drake. Then people started going back into TBC and getting the other mounts, and it's just when it was still not that bad as it is today, but it was when it started, in my opinion, to be not as special. Now that we talked about the likes and dislikes, I'm going to talk about what was cut from the game. So this is all that was confirmed and one speculation item that was cut from Wrath of the Lich King. The first thing is Crystalsong Forest. Now, everybody kind of knows this one. Actually, a lot of people know everything on this list, really, but maybe you don't. Crystalsong Forest was supposed to be a leveling zone, where it would be the story of the elves, Blood Elves for Horde, and Night Elves, or even High Elves for the Alliance, and they would fight over control of the Night Elf ruins along Crystalsong Forest. Not only that, there would have been a storyline about the Azure Drakes and the magic flow within that zone. I mean, you can see the various blue dragonflights all around the area in the more crystally part of the zone. So, yeah, that all was cut. The only reason you would go to Crystalsong Forest were for dailies from the Argent Tournament, so the zone kind of went to waste. The next one, now this is going to be a little bit of the bigger one, Old Kingdom, basically Azul Nurub. Instead of 2 dungeons that we got in the current game, it was actually supposed to be, again, a leveling zone that would have taken place completely underground. Now, you're going to see footage of me going through the Old Kingdom, and you can see far beyond where I am walking, which is the dungeon, you can see off and see various buildings. You can look down and see the cavern below where there's water flow, there's rivers going through, and you can see the stalactites and stalagmites. There's a part where there's a river that goes down into a gorge that's filled with lava. There's bioluminescent mushrooms. This was basically supposed to be Deepholm before we got Deepholm. And on top of that, now I couldn't find this anywhere, but I do remember back in the day, somebody from Blizzard or a Blue Post or someone said that this zone, when it was supposed to be a leveling zone, was originally supposed to have specialized mounts that would only work in this zone, and they would actually be able to climb the walls and hang on the walls, climb up vertical surfaces, but it would be zone specific, like how the Karaji battle tanks are for Anchorage only, but it would be for this zone only. That would have been freaking amazing if we got a zone like that, and that would have been the most, like, involved leveling zone at the time, but unfortunately we never got that. So something that's on the box art of Wrath of the Lich King was the fact that you could ride on siege engines. Now, we do get to ride on siege engines here and there, especially like in Wintergrasp, and there's some quests where you get to ride on siege engines. Ulduar, the beginning of Ulduar, and Oculus, of course, everybody remembers the terrible Oculus. But something else that they didn't add, well, it was kind of in Oculus, but not quite, was that, especially in Wintergrasp, we would have been able to fly planes, and you can see that, I believe it was either in the trailer for Wrath of the Lich King or somewhere, but they showed off, like, little minigun planes, like goblin-made or gnomish-made planes, and people would have been able to dogfight in the air while fighting in Wintergrasp, and then you have the people down below with the demolishers and stuff like that. That would have been awesome to actually, like, dogfight in planes and stuff. Like, that sounds freaking amazing, but that never ended up getting added in. If that never got added in, I wonder if there were other things in the expansion vehicle related that we were supposed to get that we never ended up getting. The next one is Gundrak. So years ago, somebody, I believe it was Jesse, came to BlizzCon and he asked Chris Metzen and the entire panel what something was.
Hey there, guys. This is a question that I have had for 3 years, 1.5 expansions. I thought I was going to get an answer in 4.1. I thought I was going to get an answer with the troll guy who asked his troll questions. But here it is. In the Gundrak dungeon, there is an area with the stone sentinel guys, and if you look over the cliff, there's a big wiggly snake tail. And I have been bothered by this forever because there's nothing that massive and snaky in the, so with these questions, I've seen Chris answer these in the past, and it's one of those, like, we'll see, I'll look into it. So I brought a screenshot of it. I blew it up.
The man comes armed with a wiggly snake tail. A wiggly snake tail appears. It's super effective!
What?
Dude just showed you a snake, man.
Feel dirty. So you said there was something driving the trolls, and
It ain't that.
All right. Well, so then, what is this giant snake tail?
Clearly, it's a super critical story point to World of Warcraft. You just haven't found out yet.
It drives me crazy, and I'm just curious.
That's the first sign of the return of the Titans. And Medivh will be leading them.
The forums will be holding you
And
to
Thrall
that.
is going to leave Agra and start dating Jaina.
He then brought them a blown up screenshot showing them exactly what he was talking about. And from there, everybody started speculating and talking. Now again, this is the speculation part of this segment, because there is no official word on if this is true or not. But the word is that Gundrak originally was supposed to be a raid. Now there may have been a dungeon as well, though it was highly possible that there could have been a raid instead. And when you look at the outside of Gundrak, you don't enter into the dungeon through the main building. The main building has doors and openings that looks like you could walk through, however they are boarded closed, you cannot go into them. While the dungeon, you can enter in on either of the side buildings. So it's highly possible that we could have gone into Gundrak as a raid, and that snake tail could have been a teaser for the final boss of that raid, which would have been a giant snake. Something else that was on the box art of Wrath of the Lich King that we never got was the dance studio. So the dance studio would have made it so the various dances that the races could do, you could take the specific dance and put them on another race. So you could do the peanut butter jelly time dance that the Tauren does and put it on a Blood Elf, for example. That was the general idea of it. However, it was scrapped. Mounted combat was another one that was scrapped. Now, I could have added this onto the vehicle part of this video, but I'm going to keep it as its own little separate thing. Because mounted combat would have been basically similar to the Argent tournament, but everyone didn't really like that part of the Argent tournament where you're on the horse and you have the 4-button rotation. So that didn't really work, and that was supposed to be expanded upon. You kind of have the same thing in Oculus with the Drakes and you're flying in mounted combat, though that system did not work out well, which is why you only really see it in those 2 areas of the game. But something that they did in the next expansion after that, Cataclysm, if you remember going into the Halls of Origination, the giant pyramid dungeon, there is a optional boss if you go to the right instead of into the left, where there's like that skeleton fire guy. All around him are camels. If you hop up onto a camel, you can still use all of your normal abilities, but you're mounted up on a camel. So I think that would have been a way better system where you could fight like normal and do all of your normal rotations, ability, and movement, but be able to use your, mount. You can use whatever mount you want, but be able to fight on them as normal. But that would lead into some issues with PvP, because there's already issues with flying mounts in PvP, being able to just swoop in, kill, and take the hell off. So, mounted combat is something that would have to be, probably used in only certain areas. It would have to be looked at and evaluated on a case-by-case basis, I think. But it would be something cool to at least see. Now, the last part of this video is what I would like to see. So let's say we got a Wrath of the Lich King that had everything that was cut from it added back in. What I would like to see added on top of that to make it an even better experience. While it was a small part of the expansion, it did have a focus on dragons. Now, I do not expect this to ever happen. However, I think it would be really cool to add the new Dragonflight system from the, Dragonflight expansion coming up into Wrath of the Lich King, but not with, make your own dragon. I'm talking, with the main flights of dragons, because it would be really cool if you could fly on a red dragon and fight the blue dragons and fly them through Northrend and stuff like that, or even just proto dragons. Like maybe you steal an egg from one of the hatcheries from the Vrykul and you level and tame up your own red proto drake, like from Utgard Keep or something. I don't know, with a focus on dragons in this expansion, I would have liked to see some sort of, dragon system similar. It doesn't have to be completely as extensive, but something that could be comparable to the Wrath of the Lich King, like the Spirit of Wrath of the Lich King. So, I don't know, that's just wishful thinking, and that's really, the most outrageous thing I have on this list, which is why I put it first. But the next thing is to change the Argent tournament from a ton of dailies to minigames. So basically turn it into a Dark Moon Fair with a bunch of various minigames, but it's out in the world instead of instance like Dark Moon Fair. Now, a lot of people would be like, well, why would we do that when we're in a war with the Scourge? Well, why are we doing the Argent tournament at all? oh, well, it's for training. Oh, bullshit. I don't really buy that excuse. Argent Tournament is there. I don't really want to get rid of it because I like it. It doesn't make sense lore-wise, so hey, what the hell? Add in more minigames, and on top of that, with the jousting, make it actual jousting. I do not like the 4-button rotation. Have it so there's a straight line, you hop on one horse, the other person hops on another horse, or, whatever mount. You have your, lance, and you go at each other, and it's RNG on who knocks the other one off, and do it just like real jousting. Do it so hit is 1 point, knock off the helmet or hitting in the head is 2 points, and knock off the horse is 3 points, and do it like that. That would basically be, real jousting rules. RNG, yeah, not a lot of people like RNG, they want skill-based, but I think it would be more fair, because a lot of people can't do the 4-button rotation, and there's lag and all this other stuff, and it would also kind of be interesting as well, like, oh, you win, oh, ha ha ha, oh, okay, now you win, haha, whatever, and with the added 3-point system, it would add on to the, RNG, and whoever gets the most points out of 3 rounds basically wins, just like real jousting, but in World of Warcraft. And that would make it a whole lot, more fun, in my opinion, than the 4-button rotation. Then, you would have other mini-games like, axe throwing, shoot the archery target, something that you would see in a Renaissance fair, because that's basically what the Argent Tournament is. It's a Renaissance festival. So I would like to see stuff that you would, find in a festival ground in the Argent Tournament. But anyway, the next thing I wanted to see is, so everyone remembers the fallen tree in Grizzly Hills, right? Grizzlemall? Something that they it's in very small taste, but I think this could be expanded upon. When you're leveling in that area, you have the red bears and the white bears that are fighting each other, or brown bears rather. When they're fighting, you can actually go and start killing one of the factions that are at war with each other, and when you do, you get a 5-minute buff that the opposing side will become neutral to you, but it will completely vanish if you start attacking their side. I think that should be expanded upon and turned into a new PvP area like how Hala was in Outlands. With Hala, you had Horde and Alliance that would have to fight for control of the town, and then whoever won the battle got to control the town and get all of the benefits from it. I think Grizzly Hills, that tree area, should be a PvP Hala-like zone where you can faction up with either the white bears or the brown bears, and with that you would be able to fight each other, have warfare for control of the main, center, which is the tree, and that could be your little mini village. There's a lot of areas inside of the tree, especially in a cave area, that's completely unused. Now, in Legion, for the artifacts, for the bear artifact for druids, they did end up utilizing that cave, but I mean, who the hell uses it outside of getting that artifact? And everyone has already got their artifact, so that area is completely empty. And there's other areas in that cave, too, that, again, are completely empty. Utilize that, add vendors, add something, mini games, add whatever you want, but make it just like Wintergrasp, but instead of wide, huge scale like Wintergrasp, it's a small Hala-like zone where it's just a town. And then you can have, that's the main hub that you're fighting for, right? But each of those, the brown bear rather, and the white bear, they have their own villages too, out to the south of Grizzlemall. There's the one village for the white bears and the one village for the brown bears, and that can be your staging area. That can be where you go and you can maybe do mini quests, you can do daily quests, something like that to kind of gain reputation with whatever side that you pick. So I think that would be very fun and something else to add into the world, something to do other than dungeons and battlegrounds. And the last thing for Wrath of the Lich King that I think they could add is more playable races. Now, really, playable races can be anything, but for my example, I add Tonka for the Horde, obviously, Vrykul for the Alliance, and then the last one, because everybody always asks for it, is Tuskar. Well, make them neutral, because they are neutral in the expansion. They don't partner with Horde or Alliance. They partner with both sides. So make them neutral and have them, pick and choose who they want to join, just like the Pandaren. But anyway, so that's the end of my video. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. I also have another one which is way more in-depth, but on Warlords of Draenor, if you are interested in watching that. I cover World of Warcraft private server news. I'm going to start playing a little bit of retail once Wrath of the Lich King comes out, and Dragonflight. I'm also starting to do some survival games too, if you like that. So please subscribe and stick around, and thank you for watching.